Yo, welcome back to another episode of On Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a current college goaltender, Joey Stanizzi of University of New England. So it's been an episode in the making. So I'm very excited to get Joey on. But Joey's played 2 years in the North American Hockey League in the NAL with the Northeast Generals. Even before that, he was playing prep school hockey at Middlesex School before joining obviously the NAL and then NCAA Division III. But he's also the CEO and founder of Underdog brand, Underdog Energy. So I'm really excited to dive into that aspect of it, like the whole underdog perspective, the whole underdog story, and what led into the energy drink being made. So I'm very excited. So Joey, welcome to the show.
Jack, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to dive into some topics. Obviously, both being goalies, we have a lot of things in common. So I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's gonna be a good episode. Like we've been trying to make this happen for a while now, so I'm just excited to finally get things going. But how are you?
Good, good. We just wrapped up the season here. Unfortunately, it wasn't the ending that we wanted. We ended up getting knocked out by Endicott in the semifinals of the conference playoffs. So 2 years prior, we had a good run at it. We made it to the Frozen Four both years. So obviously, little step back this year, but I think as I was mentioning, we got a good returning group coming in next year. So I think we're gonna make a run at it next year.
Yeah, so like I want to get into like your whole college experience. Like it's
Yep.
good that like you had a decent year. Unfortunately, you guys got knocked out by Endicott, like you said. But like I really want to like dive back into the time when you first started playing before we hop into all that. But you're from Massachusetts. You're a Massachusetts guy. So what was youth hockey like for you growing up, and like when did you start playing?
Yeah, so I started skating when I was 2 years old. I had the Jofa bucket on. I was buzzing around at the free skates on Friday nights. My dad used to take me every Friday and Saturday, and that was when I really just fell in love with the game. And as soon as I got the chance to play in house, I was like, "Let's go!" So I played defense and forward for a few years, and then the usual story for a goalie that's been playing since he was 5 or 6 years old is that you get past the gear and in house, and everybody gets their chance, their go at it. My first it was either my first 2 or 3 games. I pitched a shutout in all those games, and I was
There we
like,
go.
I love this. Like I'm gonna run with this, and obviously that was when I made the decision to go all in on goalie, and I'm still here. I'm 23 years old, playing the game that I've grown to love.
Yeah, I find it funny how like especially goalies like when they're younger and they're playing forward, defense, whatever it is, and then they play goalie. Like there's either two sides of the story. You either get lit up or you get a shutout and you still and you're like, this is what I want to do. Even if you get lit up for 10 goals,
Yeah.
like it's a fun position. So like what really got like grew your love for the position of goaltending because it is such a tough position when you actually know what it entails.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it just has to do with my personality that I've had ever since I was a kid. I always wanted to be put on the spot and be the game deciding factor. I mean, I played football growing up too, and I was a quarterback. Like that's very similar to a goalie in that like the game's kind of in your hands, right?
Yeah.
And I really like that feeling. I love the feeling of pressure. I think pressure is a privilege. I know that's as cliche as it sounds. Like it very is. It's true. I think that, and a lot of people realize that when they're done playing the game is like they miss that pressure, they miss that
Yeah.
competition, and that's what I really fell in love with being a goalie is just like that competitive aspect to it, and um, growing up through the ranks, obviously it gets more and more and more competitive, and the team environment has always been something that's important to me, but that's probably been the trickiest thing to balance is like okay, your goalie partner, right? Like you're best
Yeah.
friends with him, but he's also your biggest competitor because you want to be in the net. You want that playing time. So obviously, when you get into high school and all that kind of stuff is when that starts to come to fruition. So that is really something that I've battled over the years, but it's also been one of the most rewarding factors because you know exactly what that your goalie partner is doing on a daily basis. And if you just take that step forward, go the extra mile every day, day in, day out, I mean, that's what I really love. I think the game is something that I've always loved, but I think it's the aspect of competition and working harder is, the process, as everybody says, is what I've really fell in love with.
Yeah, and like I think that's huge saying like you're best friends with your goalie partner and like they're also like your best competition because you're fighting for there's only one goalie that can play a night. So like you're fighting for the crease, but like I've also heard that like goalies like hate their goalie partners and stuff like that. So like how important is it for you to have like a good relationship with your goalie partner so like you also have good healthy competition when you're fighting for the crease?
Yeah, so I've had, over my career so far, like I've had a lot of different goalie partners. I don't
Yeah.
think there's been one that's been similar. There's been a few where I've been best friends with them. Like, we'd hang out outside the rink, and there's been some where it's strictly business, and
Yeah.
they're there to get the job done. I'm there to get the job done, and you kind of get that feeling too. When you really start the season at the beginning of the year, you can kind of put a gauge on what they're like. I mean, even in juniors, right? Like my first year in the Null, we had it was either 11 or 12 backup goalies come through that year. So it was a constant. There wasn't really an opportunity to grow any relationship or
Yeah.
like get close with a guy. It was like they play a couple of games and they're gone. And that was something that really I think took a toll on me too. Is just that constant revolving door of
Yeah.
that second goalie that was coming in my first year. I think I played 37 games, I want to say, my first year. So I played the majority of the games my first year at junior, but that was when I really learned that hockey's a business, and it's no different than um, any other sport, and the fact that the coaches, they just want to win, the ownership, they want to win games, and they're going to do whatever it takes to do that. Honestly, I think that this is kind of going on a tangent here now, but it's starting to trickle down into the younger generations
Yeah.
where like it's getting too competitive too fast, in the sense that kids aren't getting the chance to love the game from the team aspect of it. And I think that's obviously something that you just kind of have to deal with as you get older, because it's part of it. The competition, the in and outs, guys getting traded, guys getting dropped, like that's going to happen, and they might be your best friend, and that's just life, right? That's hockey. That's how it goes. But yeah, I mean, back to your main question, like I think it's very important to have a good relationship with your goalie partner, but you also want to make sure that he knows, especially if he's
Yeah.
ahead of you in the lineup, that you're coming and that you're working hard every day to take his job. And I think they appreciate that at the end of the day. I mean, I had a conversation with my goalie partner at the end of the year, and we were just talking, and he was like, I think you made me a better goalie by doing what you did day in and day out. And that's what teammates do. You don't want to be the guy that's like, I don't have the starting job. Like I'm just going to sit back on my laurels and watch this kid play, because he's not going to be as good as he could be if you were right behind him trying to take his job. So
Yeah, because then he gets too comfortable, and like once you
yeah,
get complacent, like that's where you don't really gain any, like you don't get better because you're just comfortable and you're just there. But if you really have someone like on your tail just pushing every day, that's when like the competition comes out. Like you could see in practice, like, and then if it goes in practice, it leads into a game, and then just it's like you said, like it's a good connection to have because you also have that support from that goalie when you're playing, and then vice versa. Hopefully the same goes the other way, and then just like with that support, you could lean on them for like what you could have done better for that game, but like that goal against like what you could have done, and just like it, you want to build like that healthy relationship with your goalie partner.
yeah, absolutely. It's super important to make sure you have a balanced relationship with them, because it goes a long way at the end of the day.
Yeah, because you two are the only ones out, or two, three, whatever it is. Like you guys are the ones facing the shots, and it take like we both know it takes a toll on your body and your mind when like things aren't going the way you want, and
Yeah.
then it could just spiral after that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the other thing too, just to kind of piggyback on that, is like a motto I've lived by the last few years is don't give anyone a reason. And to kind of expand on that is like, are you giving the coach a reason not to play you? Are you
Yeah.
giving your teammates a reason not to believe that you belong in the net? I've always stuck by that, and I think it goes a long way for everybody, because if they see you putting in the work, because there's plenty of days, and I'm sure you've seen it, playing pro too, is like there's going to be days where you don't want to come to the rink. There's going to be days
Yeah.
where you don't want to work out, and being able to do that and put your best foot forward, it goes a long way for your teammates, because they're like, all right, he's there, like let's do this. You know what I mean? And I think teammates, that it's a compounding effect, in the sense that if you have that kind of guy that's in the locker and that kind of guy that's in the gym or on the ice, it'll push everybody around them. But it can also have an adverse effect, in the sense that if
Yeah.
you have a leadership group that isn't putting their best foot forward, isn't showing up when no one else is there, like everybody else is going to kind of follow suit with that. So, yeah, I've just always thought that is a very important thing, is to don't give anybody a reason to not believe in you, and not trust in your ability as a goalie.
Yeah, just do whatever you can to be a good teammate, like be that support system, do the extra work, no matter what situation you're in, whether you're the starter, the backup, third string, fourth string, whatever it may be, like you just got to keep going. And then like it will like everyone will notice. Everyone will be notice that you're there and that you're willing to get better every day, even though your situation may not be the way you want it to be.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And that's just the fact of hockey, and being a goalie itself is like it's not always going to go your way. There's going to be
Yeah.
days where you might feel good. You go into a game, you feel great. You're like, oh, this is going to be a good day, and you let in a few goals that they might be out of your hands, or it could be a tip, it could be your own D man putting it in your own net. And I think the confidence that you get from putting your best foot forward every single day gives you the ability to bounce back faster
Yeah.
and more effectively from those kinds of things, because you're like, I'm here, I'm prepared, I'm ready to go, I feel good. That way, those little things like those bad bounces, or the days where your team isn't having their best day, like you can still give an effort that is tangible for success at the end of the game. You know?
Yeah, and like that's I forgot where I read it, but it's like if you're putting everything or if you're preparing the way that you should, and that's gonna make you successful, like everyone's gonna believe in you, your coach is gonna believe in you, your teammates are gonna believe in you, and like it'll also help your confidence and be like if when I get my shot, like I'm ready for it because I know I
Yeah.
put everything I had into it to get ready for this moment to show off and show what I got.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and confidence, it goes such a long way. I've seen both sides of it. I've had times where I've been lacking confidence, and there's been times where I'm full of confidence, and there's one common denominator. It's the work that I put in on a daily
Yeah.
basis. If there are days where even if I'm sick, or if I'm hurt or something like that, I still show up and get something done that is within reason, because it's a compound effect, in that you're just stacking the bricks every single time. And the more that you can build up your confidence, the more, I mean, goaltending itself, and this, is that confidence is everything in your game. I
Yeah.
mean, you could be a subpar goalie and have extreme confidence, and you'll be better than an elite goalie who's got all the skill in the world, but he's got no confidence, because it's just it's a flow game. Like being a goalie, you have to be in a flow state. And I think if you don't have the confidence to in the game, it's not going to turn out in your favor.
Yeah, I like how you said flow because like there's always going to be like ups and downs, like things are going to happen, things aren't going to happen and go your way. So like what have been like throughout your career so far, like some of those like ups and downs that you had to overcome, and especially those downs, like what have you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think the real adversities really started to come when I hit my freshman year of high school. So and that's at prep school. So I did my freshman year initially at Chelmsford High, and then I did a repeat year at Middlesex. So I did a full 4 years at Middlesex. And my freshman year at Middlesex, I tore my hamstring about 3 months into the school year, which was right when the season was kicking off. And I had a senior goalie that was there. I was a freshman. I was like, I still had that same mindset of, okay, I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm going to give it everything I have on a daily basis. And obviously, I think I pushed it a little too far in training and skating and all that stuff. And my hamstring just tore completely, and I was out 7 months. So that my freshman year was just out the window, just like that. And I think that was my first first time where I faced a significant obstacle, a significant adversity where I had to find a solution for it. What did I do wrong? And just kind of reflecting on the whole process. So I changed my training programming around that summer, just getting myself ready for the season, and I made sure that my training in season in the gym and all that kind of stuff was strategic, and it was based around the games because we played Wednesdays and Saturdays, so it was hard to kind of get in a rhythm of maintenance throughout the season,
Yeah.
for what I worked so hard for in the summer. So that was like the into my sophomore year, is that I toned back the training outside the rink, and I really spent more time on the ice and more time doing that kind of stuff, and my body held up. And then it's really, I think my whole high school career was a testament of my preparation, in the sense of taking a step back and taking an outsider's perspective and really reflecting on, okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do well, and how can I capitalize on both sides of it? And I think that's my numbers. I'm a big numbers guy. I think that numbers go a long way for your success as a goalie. At the end of the day, like, if you're winning games, you have a great save percentage, and you have a great goals against average, coaches are going to play you, they're going to want you, they're going to recruit you, and all that kind of stuff. So I made sure that my numbers were getting better every year, and they were. And I think that was really coming back to what I faced my freshman year of that injury, and it really allowed me to focus on the more intricate things, whether it's in the gym or on the ice or nutrition, because everything all comes together in one for your performance when it comes to on the ice. And then I would say, after that, still in high school, like my junior year, when the recruiting stuff really started to come more full fledged, it was like I wasn't getting the attention from coaches that I thought I deserved at that time. And I think that was when that small glimpse of sort of victim mentality started to
Yeah.
happen, and being able to realize that, and just playing the game for what it is, and loving the game, showing up to the rink, and like be excited to get on the ice. That was what I had to get back in touch with. So, and I think that has a lot to do with, what I faced when I got to juniors. Like I was mentioning, we had 12 goalies come through, and it was like, hey, just show up to the rink and play the game that you've loved since you were 2 years old. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of guys, like, the more you progress through the ranks as a hockey player, like, that's one thing that you can lose touch with pretty quickly,
Yeah.
if you're not careful. So I always try and be grateful for just being around my teammates, training in the gym, being healthy. Like, it's so easy to get injured and have a setback, and so just like being grateful for being on the ice, and like I think that goes a long way, for that kind of stuff, especially with recruiting. I know a lot of guys, they fall off because recruiting doesn't go their way, or they're not getting what they think they deserve, and that's ultimately like why I stepped away from the game. It just like kind of it took a toll on me after juniors. Like, COVID happened, and um, all the D1 talks that I had were dwindling away. And when I got recruited by Skidmore, which is D3, um, I was up there my freshman year, and I already had a not the best mentality going into it. And looking back now, I think I honestly don't think I would have changed anything, because it made it who I am now.
Yeah.
And I really put myself in a position where I had no other choice but to give it everything I had, because I left the team at Skidmore my freshman year. I think it was like October, so it was like the season hadn't even really started yet. Um, Took a few months off, and like I was saying earlier, I missed being in the hockey environment. I missed being in the locker room and hanging out with the guys, and like that stuff is what you really savor in the game, which I'm sure you've seen, right? Like, that's what
Yeah.
hockey's all about. And just like being able to gel with your teammates. Like, it makes hockey that much more enjoyable. So I would say that, like, my freshman year of college was probably the most significant adversity that I've faced. Just in the sense, and I did it to myself. Like, I stepped away, and obviously that put me in a deeper hole than it needed to be. I could have ran with Skidmore and had a great college career, and maybe got a chance to play pro somewhere, right? But I don't think I would have had that more of an underdog mentality if that didn't happen, because it gave me the work ethic to go into the opportunity that I had at UNE. Um, and I was skating 3 times a day in the summer after that freshman year of college, which, for most people, it's not really reasonable, which it isn't. I don't recommend that for anybody. But that just goes back to what I was saying about like my personality of having confidence, like building up that confidence. And I felt like that was what I needed to do to be able to get myself to a position where when I get put in between the pipes in my first college game, I'm going to be more ready than anyone's ever been. So that was what really built me up to that.
Yeah, and like that, like that's awesome. Just hearing about like everything you face, and then like how you were able to overcome it. Because like adversity does shape you as like a person, and then as an athlete
Absolutely.
overall. Because like you're trying to get like every athlete, like we want to get to the top, to be the best that we can be, and just keep moving up the ranks. But you have those like fallbacks, that adversity, and those obstacles that you gotta like go overcome. It makes you stronger at
Yeah.
the end of the day, and be able to push through a lot more mentally and physically as than when you were before. And it just gives you a different perspective, because you have to overlook what just happened, and you become a better person and a better athlete because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you look back at, this would obviously be a crazy study if it could actually happen, but every single professional hockey player, I think that the guys that face the most adversity, the most setbacks, the most, um, you know, issues with their climbing through the ranks of whether it's high school to junior to college to pro, I think the ones that face the most, they end up the most successful. I think the
Yeah,
guys that just have the clean path to the top, they end up they aren't grateful for the opportunity that they're given because they've never seen the other side of it. And I
yeah,
think the people that have seen the other side of it, when they actually get that opportunity and they succeed, it's that much more cherishable. It's that much more savorable to them because they've been through so much.
yeah. I totally understand that. And like it's just it like if you don't go through that adversity, like you said, like you won't be grateful for those opportunities
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But like when you do have to go through the trenches and like build yourself up, that's when you're like very like grateful for everything. Like even the bad things that happen to you, you're grateful for
Yeah.
that happened to you, because it really just like helped you move up in like the standings and the pipeline where you want to go.
Yeah, and I think it's so hard, in the moment, right? Whether you get injured, you get a bad injury, or you get cut from a team, it's hard to see the positive and the
Yeah,
optimism in that. But there's just so much that can come from that in terms of the character that you're building. In all the correlating this to business because it goes both ways. They're very correlative. Is that it's never really about the product itself. It's about what you're building on a daily basis. And if the business fails, it's the person that you've become
yeah,
up to that point that will allow you to succeed after that. And I think it's the same thing with athletes. You get injured, you know what to do, not to do from there, and what to do to move forward successfully and more effectively. And getting cut from a team, okay, why? Why did you get cut from the team? Maybe you gave the coach a reason. Maybe you had a bad attitude or something like that. Like you learn from it, and you just become a better person overall from it.
yeah. And like that's why I like you how you brought up like the victim mindset, because you do see a lot of it when you do get cut. Like you're like, why this happened to me? Why me? Stuff like that. Like what could, and like that's where you really got to like dig deep, look at like what happened, and then look at like the experiences that you gain from it. Because every camp you go to, every time you get cut, released, like whatever it is, like it's a learning experience, and you're able to gain more knowledge that about like why you got cut, stuff like that. And it really just helps your character, like you said. And like that's what I've one of the biggest things I've learned is, especially going into the pros, like they're not gonna want some guy that doesn't have that's not very like good, like character wise. Like they really want like good characters, good guys in like the community, as well as really good hockey players as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, character is absolutely everything. It is the reason why I'm in the position that I'm at today is because of that. I mean, even in juniors, like I was going back to the story again, is like my first year. I think the only reason why I wasn't let go my first year because I wasn't having the best year. My numbers weren't great. Probably had like an 890, 895 save percentage. And I think the only reason why I was really hanging around is the work ethic that I had. And I think
Yeah.
that was, the coaches see that, they understand that, and they don't want to let that guy go
Yeah.
because, like I was mentioning earlier, it compounds, and it's very effective for your teammates and bringing the best out of them. And, and vice versa. If you're not doing that, it's a cancer, and
Yeah.
it spreads, and you'll be let go like a bad habit, just like that. So,
Yeah, you can't teach good work ethic. It just
yeah.
comes with it's just learned and just comes from like yourself, and like that's what coaches really like, and like that's what they see is like how hard you work, and if you're a good teammate, stuff like that, and like those are a lot of the reasons why like why guys stick around.
Yep. Yep. 100%. I agree.
Yeah, but like you said, you were with the Northeast Generals in the NAL for a year and a little bit. So like what was your experience like in the North American Hockey League, as well as like just like what you learned individually and like what you were able to gain from those experiences?
Yeah, so I that was my first experience of um just the cutthroat aspect of hockey, right? Like you
Yeah.
could be gone the next day for all you know. And being grounded in that and understanding that you need to bring your best effort every single day to the rink, like it's you can't even compare it to anything else. Like you need to be on your A game every single day. I watch guys have bad days at practice and they were gone. You know what I mean? And they had been with us for a long time. And I think the other thing too is it's a longer season. So the junior, coming from prep school, you're playing 25, 30 games. And then, going into juniors, you play, in that 50 plus. Obviously me, I played 37 or something like that, but it's a taxing experience, and understanding how your body works and what you need for it to function optimally and efficiently was something that I really, really focused on, especially considering when you're on the road, man, it's like you're getting dog shit food. You're
Yeah.
you're probably not getting the best sleep. You're on a bus for 10
It's a
hours, and
grind.
yeah, it's not the best, but I think um worked in my favor because it was like my mentality was like, okay, I'm gonna have all these odds stacked against me, and I'm still gonna find a way to win. Like
Yeah.
that was my mentality, and that's the underdog mentality, right? Like being against all odds and still finding a way, a solution to make yourself perform to the best of your ability and your highest capability.
Yeah, that's huge, and like those are just experiences that you wouldn't trade for anything, because it builds builds that confidence, and like going through those experiences builds and builds and builds, and just leads to the year after, like the next year, and then leads you into like eventually college, which
Yeah.
you're in now. But like you said earlier, like you guys went through like 12, 13 goalies. It's like how much did that affect you, and like what was your your mentality around that time when like guys can get let go at any point?
Uh, it was hard, I think, to digest at the time.
Yeah.
But looking back now, it was just, like I was saying earlier, like just trusting the process and loving the game for what it is, which it's a game. It's not a it's not some life threatening thing, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like you're there because you love the game. You wouldn't be playing juniors, or you wouldn't be playing pro hockey if you didn't love the game and you didn't want to show up to the rink every single day. So I think just being grateful for the opportunity that I wasn't the 13th goalie to get let go. I think that was something that I really kept on my mind. And I had a lot of good relationships with the guys on the team, and I think that helped as well. And once we got towards the end of the year, well, before they shut down the league because of COVID, we were in Alaska playing Kenai and Fairbanks, and I had a great weekend. Like it was my best weekend of the year. And Fairbanks was number one ranked in the league that year. And I think we got 3 out of 4 points that weekend, and it was awesome. And I was like, this is what it's all about. Like I made it to the end. Here we are. Like we're making a push for the playoffs. And the league gets shut down, and I was like, it's just another opportunity to come back next year
Yeah.
a better goalie, and now I have something to build off of from here. So I think just like savoring the wins and really cherishing those. And my mom always says, she says, stop and smell the roses. Like it's true. Like you got to stop and enjoy the wins. and take a look back on what got you to this point and how you were able to do it. And obviously, just know that the losses, they don't last forever. But in that time, like, you just got to find a way to flip the switch and find a solution.
Yeah, and like I think it's great to count those wins, because if once you like keep counting those like small wins, those small wins turns into bigger wins,
Yeah,
and then it just keeps going forward and keeps going snowball effect to keep going up, and just goes from slow to those bigger wins, and then it like really like leads you into that confidence like we've been talking about the entire time.
yeah, yeah. I think it all just comes back to the journey, enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because you can have an end goal. I mean, from when I was younger, like, all I ever wanted to do was play in the NHL. I think
Yeah.
that's what every kid's dream is, right? But being able to, enjoy where you're at, like whether you're in high school, you're in junior, or you're in college, like, enjoy that moment. It's never going to happen again. Like, be grateful that you have the opportunity to play the game. And, if you're
Yeah.
still playing games, you're still practicing, like, you got to be grateful for that opportunity, because obviously there's a day where it comes to an end and you hang up the skates. And I guarantee probably the biggest regret, I've yet to get there yet, but I think the biggest regret of all former hockey players is, like, enjoy the moment more,
Yeah.
and be grateful for it.
Yeah, and like that's what I like preach. Is just it's all about the journey. Like you got to be where your feet are. Like the journey definitely is a grind. It has its ups and downs, and it's not all rainbows and like just a straight line to get you where you want to be. There's always those ups and downs. You're gonna face that adversity, but if you enjoy the process, enjoy going to the rink every day, enjoy doing workouts when for the off ice training, enjoy that recovery time, like enjoy practices, enjoy games, like it'll be worth it at the end of the day, and like it'll all be you'll have a lot more fun doing that, just
Yeah.
thinking about the journey and the process, compared to if you're always like being negative and being like, oh, why is this happening to me, why is that happening, like just enjoy the journey. It's a grind, but at the end of the day it's worth it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And one thing I've done over the years is I've always set milestones,
Yeah.
short term and long term. Like, I think it's so important to have the end goal in sight and in vision, but, like, working backwards from there. Okay, how am I going to get there from this point? If you're in high school, it's like, okay, how am I going to get? And you need to play D1. How am I going to get to that point?
Yeah.
Or, if you're in college and you want to play pro, like, okay, what are the steps working backwards? What do I need to attain in order to get there? In high school for me, like, it was always like, okay, this year, like, it was always a big goal for the year. It was like, okay, I'm going to be the best goalie in New England this year. And it was working backwards from there. Okay, what numbers do I need to get that? Okay, I need to get those numbers. Now it's like, okay, what do I need to improve in order to get there? Is it skating? Is it hands? Is it puck handling?
Yeah.
And I was always a big advocate for finding a differentiator. Like, what is an asset that you can attain through your work ethic and your daily efforts in order to get the eyes of the recruiters or the coaches, whoever it might be. Like, for me in high school, I'm a shorter goalie, like, I'm 5'10". Obviously that works against
Yeah.
me, and I think you're like five
Yeah,
ten, 5'11"
I'm
too, right?
5'10" as well.
Yeah, so and it's tough because, like, the average height in the NHL is what, 6'2". In
Yeah.
college, it probably isn't much different than that, especially at the D1 level. So for me, it was always like, okay, what can I find that is going to separate me from everybody else? So I really dug home on being a phenomenal skater and becoming an above average puck handler, which very few, it's something that's tedious. It takes a lot of work and a lot of practice. But, and to this day, it's like, those are my biggest assets, is my footwork and my puck handling. And I really lean on those two things to give me confidence in games. Like, I can't tell you how many times where I'll look back on film or something, and I go out and play a puck where I have no business to play that puck, and it's like, I make a nice play out of it. And I think that's like one thing that's like savoring the little wins, right? Like, I'll
Yeah.
go back and watch film, and I make a good play on a a dump in or something like that, and there's two guys forechecking hard, and it's like a saucer pass over the forechecker stick or something, right on, tape to tape to the winger or something like that. Like, that goes a long way for building the confidence. And like I said, like, it always comes back to that. And I think if you can have three things: hard work, patience and persistence, like
Yeah.
anything's really possible for a hockey player or anybody for that matter.
Yeah, I love that, and like that's what like you need to be successful and get to like that next level, and like everyone's gonna like once you get to like those higher levels, like the marginal error in like everyone's game is so small that you got to like find ways to have that little bit of difference, that like, difference from another goalie to make you stand out, and like setting those long term and short goals like are helpful, especially coming from especially when you want to separate yourself from those other goalies. And it's like once you do that, you know what to work on, what you need to do to achieve those goals, and you just work backwards, like you said, from there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I want to talk for these last couple minutes about your brand, underdog brand. Like we've been talking about being the underdog mentality this whole time. But like you have like an underdog brand, you have an underdog energy drink. So like what really got that energy drink started, and just like the whole like mindset and brand behind it?
Yeah, yeah. I'll try to make a long story short, but I've always done. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit ever since I was like 12, 13 years old. I did these little side things, selling custom T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. And it really started from my dad. He really inspired me to do that. He was working in the union doing wood floors since he was 16 years old, and during the 2008 like financial crisis, he broke off on his own and started his own company. And I was able to, gratefully, I was able to watch that process and how he was able to succeed and start his own company. And I always wanted to do the same thing and try and follow in his footsteps. And that's when I really started to play around with that kind of stuff. And I've learned so much since I was 12, 13 years old, on the business side of things. And in high school, my senior year, like all throughout high school, I always just wanted to find people that were like me and had the same vision, the same mindset, because I'm a huge advocate for surrounding yourself with people that are better than you and
Yeah,
people that want similar things. So I thought, if I could create a community of athletes and people that, on a self development journey, to bring them together like in under one common brand, like that was my goal when I first started. So we started with just the clothing. It was like a motivational clothing brand essentially, and it was graphic tees and hats and all that kind of stuff. And I spent so 2019 is when I started it, and up until 2021, it was all clothing, and we used the capital from that. And like I said earlier, I met my business partner playing junior hockey, and basically once I got to the Northeast Generals, we started working on the concept of coming out with a supplement product. That was the vision from the start. We always wanted to expand to that. We spent about a year and a half formulating the product. I'm a huge supplement guy. I've always used pre-workout. I've always used post-workout and BCAAs and whey protein, all that kind of stuff. And we tried to find an entrance to the market that we could be successful in. And we thought that the energy drink market, slash ready to drink pre-workout market, was an opportunity for us because we felt that all the brands that were out there weren't being fully transparent in the sense
yeah,
of they're hiding their ingredients behind proprietary blends, and nobody's really telling you what's actually going in your body. So we took that approach. We wanted to really bring a fully transparent, healthy alternative to what's out there. And that really led to UD Energy today. Like we launched our first flavor in last fall, so October of 2022, and that was just quite the process. And you want to talk about correlation to sports? It is so correlative. The work ethic and the resiliency and the patience that you gain from being an athlete,
yeah,
it crosses over to business like to a T, to a T. Obviously, it's a little different. It's more of a mental battle on the business side than it is in sports, because sports, it's I think it's both sides, obviously. But yeah, so we launched it last fall, and really the thing that I've taken from hockey that I've put towards the brand itself is just taking action, getting out of your comfort zone and putting your best foot forward.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, if you can go to bed and you can say, I did everything I could today to succeed and take this thing to the next level, then you can't be disappointed in yourself. You can't have any regrets because
yeah.
you're doing your best. And I'm grateful for the team that we're currently building. I mean, we have 8 people, mostly part time, that are part of the brand now. Whether it's sales reps, or we have a sales director, a chief sales officer, and then obviously me and my business partner as well. And It really comes back to the whole team thing, right? Like
Yeah.
I've always loved being a part of a good team, and that's what we're striving to do with the business. And it's you know we're it's tedious. It's a daily effort, and you're wearing many hats in the early stages. And I think that's one thing I love about it too, is like you're doing the grunt work as much as you're doing the big picture stuff too,
Yeah.
in the early startup days. So that's been something I've really enjoyed, and I've just been grateful for the opportunity that we have, which is the growth that we've seen this year. And I don't know if you're familiar with like Hannaford's or
Yeah.
Northeast. Yeah, so we started the onboarding process with Hannaford's, and we're going to do a local launch into all their Massachusetts stores. And all that came from an opportunity that came up last summer, where we took action, and we just took the risk. And I think risk taking is a huge part of it. It was a conference that we really didn't have any business being at. I mean, we were primarily online up to that point. And it was a buyer seller conference. So we had meetings with Walgreens, we had meetings with US Foods, Norman Distribution, Hannaford's, and Price Smart. So like all these big name companies, and we're like, you feel out of place. You feel like you're kind of an outsider, like you're
Yeah.
you feel like you don't belong, right?
It's
And
getting out of your
and
comfort zone.
yeah, exactly. And we were like, this is stuff we're gonna have to do. And
Yeah.
we nailed all the meetings. And obviously, Walgreens is a nationwide brand, like that wasn't going to happen anyways. But Hannaford's, like, it's local. I'm from Massachusetts, and they love the idea. They love the pitch, and you start moving forward in that process, and that's going to open up so many opportunities for us. So I can't say it enough, but like just you know taking chances, taking risks.
Yeah.
Like it's so cliche, but it's so true, because I think one of the greatest assets of athletes and business people is being able to work on your feet. And there are going to be conflicts that come up every single day in business and in sports. And your ability to be resilient and adapt to it, it can go such a long way for you,
Yeah.
and open up other doors and other opportunities as you progress forward. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at today. And we actually just got Informed Sports certified, which it was huge for us. So that's a third party testing company that basically, once you get certified, if you get certified, you have no banned substances, the label's accurate, which goes a long way for us in terms of trying to capture that serious athlete market, the
Yeah.
college athletes, the pro athletes, all that kind of stuff. So but yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And I'm excited to just see where it goes. And you really never know. I mean, every
Yeah.
day is a question mark. Like I said, there are problems that come up every day that need solving. And just going back to my first point of, like, if you can get to the end of the day and you can say that you did everything you could to find solutions, you can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, that's unreal. Congrats on all that, and like to see your brand go from that from the start to where it's at right now, like that's huge.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. And honestly, like, you're doing a great job too. And I know I told you earlier, but it takes a lot to kind of do something like this. I
Yeah.
remember my first episode of our podcast that we have, behind the underdogs. I was stumbling over my words. I was like, this is not for me, man. Like, this is crazy. But it's a progression.
Keep
You
building. Yeah.
exactly, you get better and better at it as you go. So good for you for doing that. And obviously, sharing stories, I think, is so crucial, especially for hockey players. I can't tell you how
Yeah.
many times where I look back and I was like, man, I wish I had this advice, or I wish I had somebody to tell me this, or a story I can relate to. So good for you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And before you go, like, do you have any advice for like that underdog, the underdogs, and like the mentality there, and just advice to help the underdogs come on top?
Yeah, I think it comes back to adaptability. And I think, one piece of advice I would give is just problems and adversities are inevitable. They're going to happen to everybody. And it's just a matter of taking a step back, seeing the problem, and then resolving the problem. And there's
Yeah.
always a solution. There's a solution to every single problem. It's just a matter of how hard you're willing to work to find that solution. So keep taking steps forward, get out of your comfort zone. And at the end of the day, you can make it happen. Anybody can make it happen.
Yeah, that's huge, and I love hearing that, especially going from the underdog mentality. Like, just got to keep battling, keep overcoming the adversity that you face and the obstacles, and like that's how you're going to succeed is going through that adversity to get on top.
100%, 100%. And
Yeah,
I wish you nothing but the best of luck too with your hockey journey and obviously the podcast too. I think you're gonna do big things. So keep it up.
yeah. Thank you, and you as well with the brand, with your hockey career. Like, I really enjoyed having you on the show. So I just want to say thank you and good luck the rest of the way and wherever you end up, and hopefully our paths cross again soon.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I'd love to hop on anytime. Anytime you need another guest, I'm sure you got a long list of people you're trying to get on. So I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad we were finally able to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again.